Hello, thank you for joining me for my slightly late Facebook Live today. My name is Tracy Held. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Melbourne in Australia, and this is my regular Sunday Facebook Live. This is the card that we're going to be making today. So it's a floating hexagonal or bandstand card that's got a few different names, and I'm going to be using a new suite of products that's going to be available from Tuesday. It's called Pears. It's an online exclusive. So let me quickly show you the products that we're using, and then we'll get on to making the card. So first up, we've got the Perfectly Pears stamp set, and that has coordinating dies. I'm also using the Impressions of Bloom dies. That's going to be used to cut out our oval over there. The DSP, the Pears DSP, is beautiful DSP. I wasn't so sure about pears when I first saw it, but we're doing pears for... Funny's happened here. Okay, it's jumped back, so hopefully you didn't miss me showing you the DSP. And then we've got these low profile dots, which are also part of that suite. I think I was saying that the stamp camp's on the 9th of August, and I will put up a link to how you can join that stamp camp. You can join from anywhere in the world, and I don't mind if you're a demonstrator and you're looking for inspiration, you can join as well. So that's our card today. I'm copying one that I made with my dear friend Shiny Green. So this was her card. I went to one of her classes yesterday, and that's what we're doing. So, but we're doing pears. Alright, so all the measurements will be up. We're going to start with some scoring. So for the card base, we're going to score this at 3 centimeters from each side. Okay, so 3 and 12, or you can just flip it around and score at 3 and 3. If you're working in Imperial, it's going to be 3/4 and 4 and 5/8. And then we've got 2 strips, so we're going to score those strips, if I don't hide my measurements from myself, at 2.5, 7.5, 12.5, and 17.5. If you don't want to spread that arm, you could just score it 2.5 from that other end. Okay, now let me just quickly go through those Imperial measurements for scoring. So that's going to be 3/4, 2.5, 4.5, and 6.25. Now, just to make mention, the measurements, this is one of those cards that doesn't convert very well from metric to Imperial. So here, all of my strips along the top here and the bottom, those are all the same length. When we're going in Imperial, it's going to be different lengths. Okay, so when you see the measurements and there's 6 pieces for metric and 4 and then 2 for Imperial, that's why. And then what we're going to do is stick those pieces along all those bits. So to save time, and because I didn't want you to watch me sticking, I've actually gone and stuck those already. Okay. And then it's assembling, which is pretty easy. We're just going to fold along those score lines. And then I'm going to stick my larger piece of DSP into the middle and glue was coming out. Alright, now Facebook's playing funny games with me again. I can see that I've got a couple of people watching, but I'm not seeing any comments. So if you're commenting or asking me questions, they're not coming up, but I will respond to them as soon as I'm done and I can see them. Alright, now do not stick your DSP onto the sides. We want to stick these strips first, and I will show you why in a minute. Okay, so we're just putting glue on the ends here, fold down and glue that against the side, and then we're going to fold that one down and glue it against that side. Okay, so that's going to fold flat when we're putting it into our envelope, and we're doing the same on the bottom. So I'm just lining up the fold with the end and trying to keep the bottom edges aligned. Okay. Now that I've got that stuck, we can stick our I'm looking at this going, I'm sure that I was very careful to cut this that the picture followed, but it wasn't that. I don't know whether you need to be this fussy about it, but I'm just trying to make sure that it follows along the inside. So we're now sticking the side pieces of DSP, and yes, it is slightly awkward getting in there, but I want it covering up those tabs. Okay, so that's why you're sticking the strips first and then the DSP. So that's an important step. Don't forget that one. And then what I'm going to do is just stick another strip of DSP on each of those panels on the back. You don't have to have them if you don't want to, but I think it just makes them look pretty on the back. So we have lots of gluing going on here today, but it's not really difficult once we do the card. Okay, and now we're ready to start decorating. Now, that Impressions and Bloom die set, which I've put over there out of the way, comes with two different ovals. Okay, so you've got those two. This one will actually cut out a frame for you, and you've got the inside piece as well, so of course you can use that, but then that one cuts a solid oval. So what I wanted to do was stick the frame onto the oval, and I'm not doing it on camera because it just took me a little bit of time, but you want to put a tiny little bit, little glue dot 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 all around the edges, and then stick that on. So then it's just a matter of getting it aligned. So there we go, and you can see at the back it's not 100%, but that's going to be fine. We're not actually going to see that. And now we've got a die for these little, I don't know what they are, hashy things. So I have put adhesive sheet behind it because that makes it a lot easier to stick Of course you can go and put glue if you want to, but they are quite narrow, intricate little pieces, which makes it a bit messy when you're sticking. But if you're better with the glue than I am, go for it. I love adhesive sheet for these kinds of things. So I'm going to stick one of those up at the top over here, and then another one at the bottom. Okay, now I've gone for easy here. The dies will cut out the pieces from the DSP. Okay, so let me just grab that piece. So that piece of DSP matches all the dies. You can cut them all out. The only one that it doesn't match is these little yellow flowers, but all the others will cut out with the dies. And before I stick my pears on, I'm going to just snap my sentiment. So just a little hello. And I love the font of these sentiments. I just think it is such a nice font. So we're just going to stamp that in the corner over there. In the corner, yes, in the corner of the oval. Very clever comment. And then I'm going to stick my leaves and stalk onto my big pear. And stick my pear onto my card with dimensionals. Now I'm just putting these dimensionals along the center of the pear because I want to slot my flowers in underneath once it's stuck, so I don't want the dimensionals along the edge because then I'm not going to be able to get my flowers underneath. There we go, and I just see that a piece of the bit that was supposed to come out didn't. There we go, managed to get that out. Okay, right, and then I've cut this flower from one of the side edges so you can see it's a little bit flat on the one side, but that's okay. I'm going to tuck that flat edge underneath, and nobody's going to know, so don't ignore those side edges because you can still use them. And then we've got another one which is going on the other side. Now you can put a piece of acetate behind here and then have your images or whatever you're using floating on the acetate. So that's like that one where my turtle is just standing looking like it's in the middle of nowhere. But because I'm using quite a big piece here and it doesn't need that acetate, it's going to go on by itself. I'm just going to put some glue on both of those panels. And I'm going to work on the back of the card, so I'm not going to stamp or stick my embellishments just yet. We'll do them in at the end. And now I've got another one of those white ovals, and I'm going to just take some of my little pears that I've die cut, and we're just going to glue those onto the edge of the oval. Trim off the bits that are hanging over the edge. Would have been good if I could have found an edge piece of one of these little pears, because then I wouldn't be wasting the one that's a full one, but that's okay. And now we're just going to stick this onto the back so we've got a nice white piece that we can write our message on. Oops, that was not a good idea. Try not to drop it and get glue everywhere. And of course, the last thing that we need are some of our dots, and just put them wherever you think you've got gaps that look like they need filling up. And this time I'll put one on this flower over here. So there we go. My dots are in slightly different places, but looks the same. So there's our bandstand card. I think that this Pears is really pretty, so I'm enjoying it more than I expected it to. And like I said, I will put up the post for you to sign up for the stamp camp. Hope you'll join us for that, and I will see you again next week. Until then, have a good week. Bye for now.